Hi, I'm John.
I'm Andrew.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Nerdborne podcast, our little sideshow for me and Andrew from the J&A podcast. I'd just like to give you guys a quick peek behind the scenes. It has been hell trying to get this out. There have been many things going wrong, but we're finally doing it. We're finally doing it. Uh,
Hey.
Hallelujah. But we wanted to talk about some of our favorite combat systems in games. Most games, that's what you do. You fight dudes. So we wanted to talk about, some of our favorite ways of fighting dudes. And Andrew, why don't you start us off?
Well, start us off. I'm going to start us off with one of the original combat systems I fell in love with, which is Final Fantasy. In
Mm,
particular, they like 7, 8, 10. Like, man, I've always been like conflicted of which one. Like, I'm obviously like, 8's always been like was first love when it comes to the Final Fantasy. So I've always had that,
mm.
biased opinion about 8. But I was wanting to talk to you about like obviously like the turn-based combat seems to be a combat system that's been dying out nowadays. I was actually wondering your opinion. A 7, 8, and 10. Like, what's your favorite combat system out of all those three?
Definitely 10.
Really? Why is that?
Uh, Getting rid of the ATB might have been a controversial opinion, but honestly, I think it helped bring up the pace of the fights in general because that's it. You weren't just sitting there waiting for your bar to fill before you got to do something. Um,
Alright.
that and being able to see, the enemy's turns, being able to affect the enemy's turns, that added a wonderfully deep strategic element to it. It was kind of the first game that I played that had that sort of, you can manipulate the flow of battle like that. So, and I think just executionally, there was a lot done in 10 that really just kind of cemented the whole turn-based system in comparison to the other two.
I could understand. I could get that, and I could agree with you. Yeah, even like the leveling up system in 10 better than the previous, like 7, 8, or 9. The only thing I really liked in 8 was it's just like how you could basically get into cheat mode and like just collect the shit out of those cards and put like convert those cards into like strong ass magic tornadoes and put them on strength and fighting. You
Yeah.
just become so OP so quick. You know what I mean?
Uh,
That.
No, I will say, as far as like the leveling up and the stats, or the technical side of it, I think 8 was probably the most interesting, like junctioning the GFs and stuff like that. But I would say that's where, well, I gave my reasoning for 10 already, so.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Like,
Mm.
I hope that the remake of Final Fantasy VII keeps doing terrific. Just so they remake 8. I just hope they do a different combat system with it. Uh, that game hasn't been out that long, so I don't want to get into like spoilers for people or anything like that. I'll let like go some months slide by before I hop on here and give my little fucking rundown of what I think of the remake. So I want to get
Mm.
into that yet. What about you? What do you got on your list for combat system?
Well, since we're on the turn-based kick right now, uh, there's a game that doesn't get talked about nearly as much, so I'd like to talk about it. Xenogears.
Ooh,
Uh,
that's a nice one there.
like just the whole, okay, it sounds stupid to talk about it, but it is really actually engaging. Each attack is linked to a different weapon, or rather a different attack. Good job, English speaker. Each button is linked to, a different type of attack that uses a different amount of resources. The death blow system, where you kind of you put in like triangle, 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 X, and you get this fucking sweet combo out of it. Like, uh, it's not a system I've seen since Xenogears, and frankly, I think that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, that is true. I've never noticed another combat system like Xenogears. Xenogears seems on its own platform on itself. It's honestly been such a long time since I might have to go back and actually play it again to get refresher course into it. I remember when I played Xenogears, it's like it was like one of the only games I had at the time, so I had like played the game like 2 or 3 times, like immediately in a row. But the
Mm.
storyline, so no, the storyline's pretty dope too. But I know it's not like not the combat system, but it's got a dope ass storyline to it too.
Oh, definitely one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Uh, what when the fuck did your Xenogears come out? Just my memory.
Uh, 1998, if I recall correctly.
Jesus, really?
Yep.
God damn, that made me so old. Motherfucker.
Let's
Oh
see.
man. We're gonna pretend. I'm gonna pretend like you said 2008. Pretend that you said so I don't feel old.
Uh, yep. Or February 11th, 1998.
Shit. Not the second one. When the second one?
There was no second one. There was
Girl.
a spiritual remake,
Okay, that's what it was.
and people probably know that as Xenoblade Chronicles, or rather Xenosaga. Xenosaga was the first one, and then Xenoblade Chronicles.
You just came out with that for on the Switch, didn't I?
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2,
I think it was like Ultimate Edition or something like that.
something.
Uh, I was like, cause I seen it come out on the Switch, and it like kind of caught my attention. I was debating on getting it.
Thought about it, but I played Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, back when it was on the Wii, and like it, the combat is actually good. I'll give it that, but the overall story just was not my jam.
And it's funny how the stories just combat system can be dope as a hell, but the story could just like literally take you out of the game. It's funny when
Mm,
it's kind of like Final motherfucker, Metal Gear Solid 5. That's like it's like gameplay in Metal Gear Solid 5, dude. That combat system is so fucking awesome. But
yeah.
damn, that story is so bad.
Uh,
Oh,
I mean that could be a whole fucking episode in of itself,
yeah.
but
Oh yeah. I guarantee you we'll be tackling. Oh, just Metal Gear Solid. Period. I could do an entire podcast just on a Metal Gear Solid series. So
yeah.
we're gonna stick to combat systems. We're not gonna indulge off and like we'll fuck with our listeners. And they're like, hey, now they're talking about Metal Gear Solid. Like, oh, we'll get back on topic here. I mean, one of the other ones, the combat systems I gotta talk. We obviously gotta talk about. It's what our fucking podcast is named after. Is any of the Soulsborne series.
Yeah.
Like any Dark Souls or Bloodborne. That's another one of the ones I was curious. I wanted to talk to you about. It's like, uh, they all have obviously the same kind of style of the combat system, but each one's got its own little different quirk to it. Like, what's your favorite combat style out of the Soulsborne series?
My favorite would definitely have to be, and this might be a bit controversial, but Dark Souls 3.
Really?
Yeah, I enjoy the fact that, they made Blue Estus a thing, so that way, you had more access to spells. The spells themselves were interesting. Um, they weren't tied to a resource like bullets or anything. They learned some lessons from Bloodborne and, upped the pace a little bit, but by the same token, it's not quite like Bloodborne. It's just the best mix, I think, of, like if Dark Souls and Bloodborne had a baby, Dark Souls 3 would be that baby.
That's an interesting looking at. Like, oh, it's funny that you say that
Hmm.
because the reason why that you think love that combat system the most is one of the reasons why I don't.
Really?
Like, yeah, though, don't get me wrong, the Blue Estus doesn't bug me that much, but it makes me feel like that you just have to like stick to like one spell pretty much because you could just refill your Estus. There's no reason to have any multiple spells. This is to like a Dark Souls 1 or 2, like where you had to kind of like set it up to where like okay, I only got like 5 uses of these, and then I need 3 of these. You know what I mean?
Mm,
There was like no point. There was like say if you're doing like a what you call it? Like say if you're running a pyromancy build on 3, there's really no reason to up your atonement unless you want to like increase the castings. But beyond that, I mean, what you really need is 1 or 2 slots, and you're good.
uh, as someone who frequently does pyromancy when it comes to Dark Souls 3, um, one thing that they did is that your spells are a little bit more toolboxy rather than just, okay, uh, one thing solves all. Like at the end of the day, you're probably throwing Great Chaos Orb or
Oh yeah.
I don't remember it, but like there's still a lot of spells that, either fire off real quick or they have extra effects. Dark Conflag or Dark Conflagration in specific. The damage really isn't great unless it's something that's weak to darkness, but it does incredible stamina damage. Like, one or two Dark Conflagrates, and you'll probably put something in a stagger state.
It's pretty cool. I don't think I use that one that too much. Some reason, anytime I do, like it happens to me every single. It's like what happens with you when you run do a run on any Soulsborne game, on a Dark Souls game. Like you go to try to do something, and next thing you know, you have a pyromancy build. Well, that's generally what happens with builds. Like, I
Mm,
fucking single. That happens to me every fucking single time, man. Like I don't mean to do it. I just recently restarted actually playing Dark Souls 3, and I started doing a pyromancy build. I got about halfway through it. I still need to finish it up, but their balls are fun.
mm, yes, they are.
I'm
Well,
fucking A right there.
how about you,
Personally,
Andrew? Hmm?
yeah, I was about to say, personally for me, it's not. My favorite Soulsborne game is the original Dark Souls, obviously, but the combat system I liked the most, to be honest, was Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Um, Bloodborne was just fucking so unforgiving that and you could sit there and you could play like I was playing Neo 2 when it came out. Like that's I'm gonna bring up Neo 2 a little bit later because that's on a list that I have.
Hmm.
I was playing Neo 2 for a good time. Like, I was on quarantine for like 14 days. So I basically like 14 days straight of Neo 2. And on like my last day of quarantine, I finally got sick of the game. So I'm like, let me jump on to Bloodborne. And I just got my ever loving fucking ass kicked. I was like, oh man, that first big monster when you're right in the beginning of it, when
Oh.
you open that gate or the shortcut, that first big guy, dude, I think I lost like 5,000 souls trying to kill that bastard. Swear to God, man, I could not kill him to save my life because I don't know if I was just used to the different buttons, but shooting it lets you get away with rolling only so much. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you do have to learn counter shoot with the shooting with the pistol. Like if you don't learn how to do that, like you're just gonna have a rough go at that game. And then that's one of the reasons why it's like that's my favorite combat system.
Mm.
Um,
I would
I mean, like
actually.
I would
Hmm?
call it.
No.
But,
I would like to say Dark Souls 3 might be my favorite, but I'm of the opinion that Bloodborne did it best.
it's kind of like interesting looking at it.
Hmm.
So you two, what do you mean, like okay, storyline wise, or are you talking about the combat?
Uh, Combat specifically, although there is something to be said of the story as well.
It's it's your podcast episode. Oh yeah, we're gonna have one that we're gonna dive into a little. I can't wait for that fucking podcast where we're diving into a little of the Soulsborne. But
Oh God.
oh yeah, I can't wait for it. But combat like yeah, the combat in Bloodborne, man. Like and on top of that, the switch weapons, too. Like
Mm.
the trick weapons, it's just so fucking dope. Like just like the meat cleaver, you know what I mean? Like you hit it like real quick and then you press L1 and it switches out to the two handed. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
it's just so fun to use.
Yeah.
What about you? You got what else you got on your list?
Uh, well, let's see. Since we're getting into a little more action oriented, this is something that I'm going to have to bring up out of necessity. Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. The those two games in specific, but the character action genre in general.
I am so shocked.
I know, stunning, isn't it?
I don't
I
think there's gonna be an episode we have where you don't bring up Devil May Cry at least once.
I'm not gonna take that bet because I'll lose.
All right, come on, man. Let me hear the reason why you love it so much.
All right. My favorite Devil May Cry game is Devil May Cry 3, simply because it's the first game that they really just kind of went, hey, what if we made Dante play like a fighting game character, except we also made him broken as shit? Like Devil May Cry 3 is such a broken ass game, and the recent Switch re-release, where they made it where you can switch between all of his styles and all of his weapons on the fly, compared to the original where you could only have two weapons and you were locked into your style. Just, mwah. Oh, that's a spicy meatball.
Why don't you clarify what you mean? Because there's probably people out there here when you say a broken system or they make Dante broken. We want you to tell people what you mean by that.
All right. What most people don't realize when it comes to Devil May Cry is that if you're just, running up to things and pushing, triangle or square or whatever it is, if you're just hitting dudes with the sword, I'm not gonna say you're doing it wrong, but you're kind of doing it wrong. Uh, One of the things that you or like high level play in Devil May Cry is doing cancels, which means you can cut an animation short and go immediately into another animation. When it comes to Devil May Cry, the big one for that is jump canceling. You shoot something up into the air, and then you do a move, and then you jump. You before that move actually ends. Like let's say you're doing the helm splitter where it's just the you swing down on the sword and take the enemy from the air and yourself all the way down. You can actually cancel that after the sword hits the enemy and you stay in the air, and depending on when you cancel you can keep the enemy in the air, or you can keep yourself and the enemy in the air, and then you can do things like loop that, like you can do 5 helm splitters on the same enemy without ever touching the ground. And just any special move basically can be jump canceled. In Devil May Cry 3, specifically guard canceling, where you'll do an attack and then you'll use the Royal Guard style in order to cut that animation short so you can go into another attack. Like, um, I guess or videos are worth 1,000 words, and there is actually a YouTuber I would like to shout out. His name is Dungoody. I'll try and put that in the comments. But the shit this guy does with Devil May Cry, like it doesn't even look like the same fucking game you're used to. It's incredible what these people can do.
I gotta see that then. I got it. The one thing I do, like, I definitely gotta check out that video because
Mm,
somebody that if somebody, I could just picture somebody perfecting, just being like just flawless. I could
it's
just, I could picture it inside my head. The one thing I do love about Devil May Cry, so the D in particular, is like its fluidity in the combat style, man. Like
mm,
once you get used to it and you know your combinations and everything like that, man, it's just like a fucking like it's stroking a art brush or something like, you know what I mean? It's just like it's so fluid, and like the top of that, the way they mix the music in with it is just fucking awesome.
yeah.
Um, Play the fifth one?
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah. What'd you think of that?
Not as broken as Devil May Cry 3. I do have some gripes, but it's still beautiful. Like
Oh yeah,
that too is a broken ass combat system, and I love it.
getting A right, dude. It was so much fun. They actually let me. They actually, I didn't think it was going to be possible.
Hmm.
They've actually let me, like kind of like Nero a little bit. Like I hated the bastard in 4, but liked him in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
especially once you get that motorcycle weapon. Oh my god, that was just so much fun, dude. Like I had that down to where I was just like wiped away like 30 enemies within a minute and a half, and it was so much fun. It's one of those games I always meant to go back and play to, but like backlog of video games, like it's just not enough time, you know.
it never ends.
Yeah, it never does. It never does. Okay, for me, there is a game I do want to bring up. Well, this game definitely does. I get talked about it. Like when you talked about Xenogears, how that doesn't get talked about enough. This game doesn't get talked about enough when people talk about like great video game combats. That is Mega Man Battle Network.
Mm,
Uh, it, it had an addiction, man, battle networks for like the longest time, and so it was a recent thing too. Like I understand the games came out a long time ago. I didn't play them when they originally came. I actually played them a few years ago. I got an emulator on a tablet, like a Game Boy Advance emulator,
Mm.
I don't think just based out of like or whatever you happenstance. I just happened to get hey, Mega Man Battle Network, so let me give that a try. And I played like the next 6 games in like within like 3 months. Like
I just like
there's so what's that?
I just like to say we do not endorse piracy officially. Officially.
For
Please don't
sure.
play anything on an emulator that you don't own a physical copy of. That being said, yeah.
Yeah, I don't don't condone piracy whatsoever, but people can also fuck off and not judge me. But anyways,
But
fucking
yeah,
battle system, and it's just I always thought it was awesome because it's like it's one of those ones like if nobody's ever played it before, for me at the very least, it's hard to describe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just got like you got Mega Man there, you got your little plateaus that where you can move,
mm,
and you face one other enemy, and you kind of have to move around and wait. You like wait a certain amount of time until you can use these cards. What are they called? Chips, aren't they?
chips, chips.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they're called chips that you get. But the cool thing about it was is that you had to kind of like strategize with the chips, like okay, and depending on like who you were fighting or where you were at and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
God, I just thought it was kind of like action based chess match.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know if that sounds like if that's a bad analogy or not, but that's like the way I could describe it. Dome, do you have a favorite Battle Network game?
Uh, Battle Network 4, if that's the one I'm thinking of. It was the first one where they really kind of introduced style switching. They went more
Uh,
into like doing what was it? I can't remember what it was called, but like if you had three chips and they were the same chip, but it was like chip A, chip B, chip C, program
huh?
advance. That's what it was.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Uh, the program advance, they really kind of went in more on that, and it really helped make that tactical element you were talking about bloom, because you
Uh-huh.
could sit here like, okay, do I just use these three chips on their own, or do I put them all together so I can get this one big hit? It was definitely a game where that's it. It was very on the fly strategy. I can see the chess comparison.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would it was definitely very on the fly, but I mean, like also too, like say if like you played a boss and you can beat him, like it
Mm.
would going back the second time, you had a better strategy point, and like even gave you like little boulders that you could put in front of you that could take hits. You could sit there and charge up or whatever. Like, yeah, they're like on the fly chess match kind of style, man. Like, I wish they'd make a comeback or at least to import them to the Switch. If they've been importing them to the Switch, the Nintendo is going to get my money for a game that I've already played again. They seem to be doing from me, but fucking hey, I'll buy it. I don't care.
uh, on that subject, there is a game that recently came out that is heavily inspired by almost a blatant ripoff of the combat system from Mega Man Network, Battle Network, and that is called oh God, I forget. Something Eden. Something. Okay. We're doing this. We're doing this live. Uh, I think it's like Steps to Eden or something, or One Step from Eden. One Step from Eden. By Humble Games and Maple Whispering Games. I'm sorry that I was not prepared to talk about your game, but yes, it's basically Mega Man Battle Network, but it's a roguelike, and it's a 4x4 grid per side rather than three.
So you're on your own with this one because I've never played this game. So go describe it to me.
It's Mega Man Battle Network, but the chips and cards you get are random.
Basically,
That's literally it.
oh Jesus,
Excuse me.
quick explanation.
Uh, like
Say
there's differences
that name one
between
more
hmm?
time. Go ahead.
There's differences between the characters, and they all have their own specialties and stuff like that, but it's Mega Man Battle Network, but random.
Really, what was it for the what system? Was it?
Oh, it's currently only on PC, but frankly I'm pretty sure it's gonna get a Switch port because let's face it, Switch has been eating up indie games, but definitely worth checking out.
Oh, that's fucking perfect because I'm getting my PC this week. Yes, yes, you're right. You heard it. PC Master Race is gonna have a new.
It's finally time he joined the fold.
Yes, I know. Joining the dark side. Um, there is another game that I would like to bring up when it comes to battle combat systems or whatever.
Hmm.
You're not particularly a fan of this game, but I am. I had like fuck line and sinker into this when it first came out, and it's Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Sekiro,
Um,
right?
yeah, Sekiro. Yeah, yeah. And I fucking loved that game when that game first came out. Like it had this like perfect blend of stealth and combat, and not only that, the combat system was. I hear there's like a lot of talks of Tenchio or something like that. That like the
Tenchu.
back Tenchu. Thank you very much.
Mm,
I heard like that it's like that. I had never personally played that game, so I wouldn't know. Sekiro, it's like it's not for me. It's like I've never played any other game like it.
mm,
You sit there and you can be stealth, go through the bushes and like pull people in, or you know what I mean, like that. But like when you did get into those intense boss battles, man, like you had to learn the patterns. There was just no other way. Like a lot of other games, like kind of let you like pick a style. Like Hero is like, no, you're gonna learn defense, or you're just not gonna win.
mm.
I mean, like, I know you weren't a fan of it. Like, let me hear your explanation. Let people hear the explanation of why you didn't like the game.
Uh, this is gonna sound a little bit, I guess, kind of odd to say, but okay, if you look at the soul or the games put out by FromSoft concerning, difficulty Souls likes, if you will, there's been a kind of progression of ideas. So you have Dark Souls 1, where the primary way of getting anything done is hide behind your shield and poke things. Um, Dark Souls 2 was more of that, but also with an extra layer of mud. Um, Dark Souls, okay, then Bloodborne came out. Now, Bloodborne was very fast, very kind of, act or frenetic, more dodge, dance, and counter rather than, defend and wait for the right time. Um, Dark Souls 3 came out, which was, more Dark Souls ish in the sense of, using your shield, uh, waiting for enemy attacks and stuff like that, where that was, like the primary method of getting through an encounter. And then Sekiro tried to take Bloodborne, I think, and distill it down too much because the only thing you can really do in Sekiro is parry and whittle down the enemy stamina that way. There is no like you can just sit there and hack at it for days and you're not going to get anywhere. You have to do, the parries and the counters, and for that reason I don't like it because that's it. You are railroaded into you only do this thing to win.
Mm. I could get that. In its defense, though, their shinobi tools.
Mm,
You can use those. Like each and every enemy's got its own like weakness to a shinobi tool, and like you can use those against those. There is a little bit more forgiving than the actual just have to sit there and guard, but I could still see your point on what you're getting at. I personally like that aspect of it because it made me feel like I was in an actual real sword fight. You know what I mean? Like every
mm.
single time it was like ching ching ching. Yeah, I really felt like I was blocking it. Not only that, it was hard as fucking hell. Like Father Isle, not when you face him at the top of the tower, but when you go into like what is it, like a dream or whatever, when you
Hmm.
travel back, and you face him in the burning building. Dude, it literally took me an entire fucking day, that bastard. And like I never felt like more accomplished that like almost any video game than when I beat Father Otto that time. Only other time that I felt more accomplished was when I platinumed the Dark Souls. That's it. Like yeah, I felt so happy when I beat that bastard, man. And like, I stood up. I'm like, "That's right, bitch. Learn your place." My girlfriend's like, "Didn't it take you all day to fucking like beat him?" I'm like, "Bitch, you shut up too."
Ooh, danger, danger.
Yeah. Oh, I'm playing no. I'm playing no. If I getting smacked.
Oh, uh,
All right, let's get another one from you. Like, give me something else off your list of your combat system.
All right, I'm actually going to bring it back a little bit since you mentioned, you're finally joining the superior race, PC. There's a game on Steam, although I do know that there's a Switch version that doesn't get talked about enough, or I don't think it's gotten the promotion or anything, but it's a fucking fantastic game. Like I played it and literally it consumed probably 2 weeks of my life, and that game is Crosscode.
You're gonna have to explain to people and me exactly what this game is because I've never heard of it.
Okay, I will. Uh, I'm gonna be light on the story. Basically, you
Please don't
play.
give me any spoilers.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna set the premise and then I'm gonna talk about the combat because that's actually what
Okay.
we're here to talk about. But
Oh.
the premise of the story is that you are a person playing an MMO, so kind of like Dot Hack, um,
Ooh, really?
and yeah, and you
Cool.
I'm not going to say anything more about the story, but other than it's fantastically written. All of the characters are really enjoyable, and it was definitely the writing was done by someone who knows MMOs, who's played them. It seems like a lot of games when they try to talk, or a lot of other media when they try to talk about playing MMOs, it feels wrong because they never played an MMO. The guy knows what he's talking about. But to get in the combat system, it's a top-down kind of shooter. So think sort of reaching for a good example, but either way, it's a twin stick shooter, which means you're moving the character with one stick and you're aiming with the other. Um, it's got an element system where you can start using a different type of element, and that changes your moves up. Um, the uh, the game or the combat itself is that's it. It's just really kind of fast paced. There's the dodging, the blocking, the parrying, the shooting, the meleeing, the bang bang biggity bow. But the one thing, the puzzles in that game, they make me feel like a stupid child.
Oh, really?
Like very rarely is there a game that I walk into a puzzle room and have to sit there and just go, okay, what the fuck do you want from me, game? And I can see all of it, but I have to try and put it all together. Like
Yeah.
I I honestly haven't played a game that challenged me as much in that aspect than Crosscode.
Uh, I don't know about anybody else's listening, but I'm completely fucking sold. I'll be playing that bitch next weekend.
uh, I cannot sing its praises highly enough.
That it might be my first PC game. It's right, people. You get to hear me go on this adventure of joining the master race and learning my first PC game and everything. Well, not really my first, but I mean, I played Age of Empires and shit like that back in the day. So I guess technically not my first, and like Road Rash and shit. So, but first in a while, I guess I would say.
I
Um,
think you'll love it.
that. Oh yeah, I can't wait to dive into it. Oh, maybe we'll have it. Maybe we'll bring it up on the podcast later on once I actually learn about it too.
Stay
Um,
tuned.
exactly. But,
So, I'll say,
yeah, there's definitely a game that some reason we just haven't brought it up yet, and I'm sure there's some people out there that's probably like getting like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? How come they have not mentioned? A lot of people out there regard it as one of the best video games of all time. Um, Game still to this day, it's like almost like fucking GTA, where it's just like selling like hotcakes. But it is Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I've I have recently I played Elder Scrolls V Skyrim back in the day for on the PS3. I did love it. I'm not gonna like own it or anything like that. But shortly after that, that's when I fell in love with Dark Souls. Recently they came out like again. They got like the Ultimate Edition or whatever for like on the PS4, the PlayStation Network. I was like, man, it's been years since I played it. Got everything else beat, so let me give it a try. And like, I'm just falling in love with the game all over again. Like, I'm not particularly a big fan of first point of view video games. Skyrim just seemed to fucking nail it. Like, Or talk about Dark Souls, dude, and you're like, hey, you would like hitting people in the face with fireballs, like, dude, like the Skyrim, like that, and put it like times five. Like, I am literally just walking through dungeons, hitting somebody in the face with a fireball, and then slamming him in the head with a fucking mace. It's just so much motherfucking fun, dude. It's dude, the world's so open. The world's just so open. It's just like every single time you walk around, like, oh, here's a new dungeon. Let me go down here, and the dungeon is so in depth, and the battle system just doesn't seem to get old. Like, say if the fireballs start getting old to you, you switch to like these Jedi sparks. You feel like you're Palpatine fucking hitting on Luke Skywalker. Like, yeah, take that, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, it just never gets old, man. Like, I have no idea why I got away from Skyrim for so long, but Skyrim is a fucking fantastic game. That battle, the combat system, it is just goddamn addictive. I'm already planning to do a second playthrough to try to do like a stealth archer type of deal. What I'm doing right now is what it's called a spell sword. You just got a sword in one hand and it's a spell in the other. And like I said, I'm just hitting people with fireballs and smashing them in half. Like, as I said, I love it, dude. Especially because of the Skyrim, they make like the enemies talk shit to you. Like I walk into a dungeon to be a master vampire right there. Like you don't know where you come into. You're about to, you're gonna took your last breath, and like 2 seconds later, I decapitate the motherfucker. I'm like, hell, fuck yeah, it's just addictive as hell, man. Ever played it?
Oh, okay. This is gonna be me exposed. No, I have not played Skyrim.
OMG.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna try holding the back the people with the pitchforks and the torches and everything. Oh, I got your back, dude. I'm not gonna let them take you.
I've thought about playing it. Okay, I've thought about it a lot, but it's just one of those things. Something else comes out, and then I get into that, and it's just a never-ending chain of shit. Or I'm like, oh, let me take care of something in my backlog. Like the last time I was really thinking about Skyrim, that's when I discovered Crosscode. Or
Uh,
the time after that, that's when fucking Neo 2 came out. And it's just sort of like, ooh, I'm just sort of like, ooh, shiny new game.
hey, yeah, I could definitely understand that. Here for folks, I'm telling you, John, like, if you do get around to it, give Skyrim a chance, man. 'Cause it is like fun. It's very addictive. Like it's like when it comes to combat systems, it's so forgiving. Like you got so many different styles. You could go like two-handed, great swords, one-handed sword. You could go. It's just like it's endless. Or you could just go like double like spells in both hands, or you could just be an archer if you fucking want to. Sit back and hit people in the head with fucking bows. Or you could be like an assassin. It can even give, and it's really forgiving on
Mm,
being like do you know how some games they allow you to do stealth mode, but it's not really forgiving. It kind of like forces you into combat.
all
This
right.
game is like really, yeah, this game's pretty forgiving and allowing you to be like, if you want to be an assassin, you could be an assassin.
Hmm,
Like it lets you pickpocket it. It's got the whole more. It's like Tier 3, but first person point of view on steroids.
all right.
Uh, I couldn't up talk it enough. Like, a matter of fact, as soon as I'm up off here, I'm probably gonna be playing.
Well, ironically, that's it. I know a lot about Skyrim, but I've never actually played it. It's weird, man. Uh,
Hey, we all got that kind of shit, man. For some reason, I still have not watched a single episode of Game of Thrones.
really?
Yes, people, hold
Oh,
back with your torches and pitchforks.
we're getting exposed here. Should might need to take
Getting
out some
so judged.
protection or something.
Yeah, no, we're getting so judged right now.
Yep. They've got the audacity to call their podcast Nerdborne. These guys aren't nerds.
Yeah, no kidding.
To which
So
I
let me hear
say,
something else. Let me hear something else on your list.
well, I say if you're questioning our nerd cred, first, fuck you, and second, fuck you.
Agreed.
A game. Uh, this is kind of a little more of a cult classic, but God Hand.
Say that again?
God Hand.
Okay,
It's
dude, never heard of this one.
It's a cult classic, and honestly, I think you'd really enjoy it. It first came out on the PS2, and it's kind of like a it's you remember like Streets of Rage and stuff like that, the kind of
Oh
brawler
hell
where
yeah,
you just run around and beat
yeah,
the hell out of dudes.
fuck yeah.
It's that, but it's got a very deep combat system. It's very dodge focused, kind of like Dark Souls. Um, you can set up like your own moves and create combos on your own and stuff like that. And it is hard as fucking balls.
It's
Like,
interesting.
li- it, it actually
So hard
surprised
that
me.
you can't speak.
Say what?
So hard that you can't speak.
This game's fucking harder than a virgin in a strip club. Like, it's if you are a fan of Dark Souls and Bloodborne and anything from Soft and you've never played God Hand, play God Hand. It will kick you in the teeth in all the right ways.
I'll accept it.
So what do
Yeah.
you got?
It's for the P. It's you said it's for the PS2.
Yeah, PS2. Frankly, on today's hardware, you should be able to find a physical copy in which you can then play,
Yeah.
using a PC emulator or something.
Oh, piracy.
Piracy is bad, kids. Piracy
As
is
it's
bad.
unless you're Jack Sparrow, then it's kind of cool. But I actually do have a place that's by me that it's like, oh man, fucking love going to this place, but it's called Play a Trade. That's by me, and it's like all the old systems, like literally every single old system since you've been a child to grown up now, and like walking through that place is just like a smack in the face of nostalgia at every turn. Like I love that place, so I definitely have to go to that store and look for that game. Guy there is pretty friendly. He's pretty he helps me out of trying to find old shit a lot of times. So
Hmm.
fully look into that. Yeah, hell yeah. Um, another one to bring up. It's kind of along the lines of fucking Skyrim. I do feel like I need to bring it up because it is a first person shooter, but it's unique first person shooter on its own. And that is Fallout.
Ah,
That's, I don't know if you're a particularly big fan of Fallout. I remember you played them before. Like you played Fallout, right?
yeah, I played Fallout 3. Coincidentally, Skyrim and Fallout are made by the same developer.
Oh yes, I know. Oh,
Oh, okay.
who do you think you're talking to, man? I'm a fucking nerd. Jesus Christ. I'm
Hey,
insulted.
hey, maybe it was for the listeners. Maybe I was just, throwing that out there for the listeners.
Why don't you tell them it's by Bethesda too? Am I saying that right? Bethesda?
No, you're not. Bethesda.
Bethesda?
Bethesda.
I'm going with Bethesda.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna make up my own words. I'm gonna do that. That's what I fucking do. No, you played three, right? Three is obviously the fucking best one. You never played four?
No, like I couldn't get into 3 enough. It was just sort of
Really?
it's just not for me. Like I'm not gonna sit here and try and trash on the game. Same thing with Sekiro. It's just wasn't for me.
Everybody's got their own taste and opinions. Man, like there's popular games out there that I'm not a particular big fan of. I'm sure that it'll come up eventually. But well, let me give my own personal skill, like reason why I love Fallout. Pro, oh, it's just like awesome because it's so open. It's just like you could like it's a first person shooter, obviously. I think four gave you the option of doing third person shooter if you wanted to. God, but the shooting in it was just like cool because it got this like little mode into it where you could like I can't remember exactly what they call it, but you kind of like just freeze time,
Oh,
tag like something. Yeah, you tag something, like kind of like Red Dead Redemption, like that
VATS.
in a way. That's thank you very much. Yeah, when you use VATS, like the first time I played Fallout, like I did not know that you could like level up your luck and like level up your VATS. You could
Mm.
become OP as shit. I figured it out like on my third playthrough or some shit like that, and I just gotten to the point where like I would face a boss dude, and I'm like headshot him three times, and he'd just be like, "Get
Bye
this fucking
bye.
off." Yeah, it's like I think I do a quick tricks to that game, but also the customizing too.
Yeah.
just such a deep customizing game. Like you customize your bases, you customize like your weapons, like you could really customize your armor. Like oh, I don't know. I don't know why Fallout 4 got all the hate it did. Maybe because it wasn't as good as 3. I think maybe it has something to do with the storyline and how it ended. But I fucking love 4. I mean, from time to time, I jump back on it and have another playthrough.
Hmm.
Or I'll hop on like my old ones just to see how my fucking village people were doing and shit. And I love the game.
Hmm.
You
Well,
gotta let's hear something else on your list that we probably both played.
well, since we're on the subject of shooters, and I do know we have both played this,
Okay.
it's not first-person shooter; it's third-person, but Warframe.
Oh yeah.
And perhaps Warframe is more about the movement than anything, but I mean, let's face it, the guns are great. You're a goddamn space ninja flipping around, just flying over heads, shooting people. Uh, it's a game, wonderful community, constant support. There's a lot of varieties between weapons and frames and stuff like that. Uh, and really just the movement system. I don't think I've ever played a game that flowed as well as Warframe does.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Is like I think I didn't get into the game that hugely, and I think it's because I played it on the PS4. I think I once I get my PC, I think I'm gonna have to give it another go. Coincidentally, I was just actually talking to my dad not so long ago. My dad
Hmm.
like we're second generation gamer, man. My dad's a gamer too, and he was like, oh, you ever heard of a game called Warframe? And I just like took a pause and I laughed a little bit, and I'm like, man, if my friend John just heard you say that, he's gonna be, I told you, motherfucker.
Hmm.
Get into it, Andrew. I think like I said, I think once I pick up my PC, then I'm definitely gonna have to give Warframe a new go.
Yeah, it's a completely different game. Like I started like you, where I first tried it out on the PS4, and granted, it was a slightly different game at the time, but when I started it up on PC, that's when eventually I ended up putting in. Let me just have a look at my Steam listing here. Warframe. 995 hours.
Holy fucking shit, dude.
It's a good game.
That, no, I think that's like what I put into Soulsborne series like all together, man. God damn. That's crazy. Hey man, maybe when I get onto it, if you can jump on and add a little bit more time, we can play it together.
Oh yeah. Uh, I
Oh
got
yeah.
I got other friends that they play Warframe. We've actually been thinking about when we're gonna check out the stuff that they did with the railjack system and stuff like that. We can definitely help power you through some shit.
Oh
Get you
fucking
going
hell.
real good.
Oh yeah, man. That sounds like a fucking plan to me. It's free on Steam, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. Or
Yeah.
free to play. The only money you have to pay is if you want like cosmetics or boosters or stuff like that. And even though we're not quite talking about it, I would just like to say, uh, free to play games get a lot of flack for how they do their monetization. How they make their money. Warframe is probably the best and the fairest system I've ever seen out there.
It did seem like it was pretty forgiving on that when I played it. And I had put a time on it. I think I've only put like 10 hours into it or something.
Hmm.
So, it was like one of those games where it's like, dude, you gotta grind. Like, you gotta
Yeah.
grind and you gotta grind. And oh, it could be kind of confusing and like I don't want to say necessarily confusing, but I don't know, a lot to take in if you've never played it before and you go to play it. It's
Hmm.
pretty big. They don't really do like that well of a job of describing everything. I will say the community is fucking awesome. The people that play it online, they're patient and awesome fucking people, and they will help you along the way if anybody wants to try to get into it and they don't know anybody. That community is fucking, they're amazing. I have nothing but good things to say about them.
They are that's it. They are fantastic, and uh, the new player experience has been something that's been talked about with Warframe for a long time. That it is pretty poor, but there are a lot of community resources out there. There's a full blown wiki with just everything you could really want. So definitely, if it's a game you thought about checking out, definitely play.
Or like you could just sit there and hop in the comment section and ask John here a few questions because he's evidently got 1,000 fucking hours into this motherfucker.
I I have been a space ninja for a while.
And who did? I, okay, I definitely just gotta fucking play the game again just to fucking try to be a space ninja. Just that. Who the fuck does not want to be a space ninja? It sounds like the dopest fucking title ever. Oh, there's a game that I actually did want to bring up. It's kind of like off ball, off the wall. Like yeah, they're probably. I don't think you've played it, but
Hmm,
a Dragon Ball Kakarot.
really?
I wanted to bring up the combat system on that because I think it's the best Dragon Ball Z combat system I've ever played.
Hmm,
Uh, Bar none. Like it legit makes you feel like you're like Goku or Vegeta who can put X name Piccolo or what the fuck ever. Like I guess the nostalgia too because they stuck to the storyline pretty well. All things considering, obviously they skipped like a bunch of shit.
all right.
But the combat system and it was just fucking awesome, man. Like you're just sitting there, you're like it's an open world style, so you could just sit there and fly around. Like
Hmm.
that's just one thing. Like, man, who doesn't want to just sit there and like fly around in like super speed mode? You know what I mean? It's just so much fun. Top of that, the combat system, they did a pretty well job. Like all the other Dragon Ball Z games I've ever played, they're all kind of like like oh, what is it, like Mortal Kombat kind of combat style, and like
Hmm.
I particularly never liked that for Dragon Ball Z because it doesn't have that feel. It
Hmm.
feels like you're on a stage, and like they're not like that in Dragon Ball. They're fucking flying everywhere and shit. You know what I mean? Like, and Kakarot, it's not like that, man. Like, you really, I think it has I really think they got like the fighting style for Dragon Ball Z down pretty good.
Hmm.
Ever played it?
No, it's just kind of one of them things. Like it was, I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's cool, but it wasn't something I wanted to, invest time in. Like,
Yeah.
uh, don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball. I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, just like everybody else. But it wasn't one of those things that's, I just kind of really dived into. I looked at it. I thought it was pretty cool, but it wasn't something I, wanted to put my time into.
I would recommend it. Like if you see it on sale or something like that, then
Hmm.
that's when I would recommend it. It was kind of short. I know they've added DLCs and shit like that. Like I don't know. To me, it's not a game that was like worth like the $60, but if I could have got it for 20, like I'd have enjoyed it a little bit better. But still, like the combat system, I just wanted to bring up because I'm a massive Dragon Ball Z fan. In fact, I have the whole four first seasons sitting right next to me right now. Yeah, I've been making my girlfriend watch them. um, like the combat system was just dope, so it was something I wanted to bring it up since we were talking about combat systems in games.
Hmm.
Let me hear something new on your list, man. I want you to like give me a shocker. Like let me bring up something you didn't think I would think, but you think you'd bring up.
Okay. Here's one. Uh, I'm pretty sure you probably haven't heard of it, and I don't know if it'll shock you, but it's an interesting concept. The game is called Beautiful Joe.
It is shocking to me because
Is it?
no, it's not shocking. No, I don't even know what it is.
Okay. Well, let me set the scene for you. You are playing as Joe, go figure. And one of the things he really likes is action movies. And he gets sucked into the world of movies and becomes Beautiful Joe, the red behelmeted superhero. And the way the game is kind of like a side-scrolling brawler, kind of like Streets of Rage again, but lockdown. But
Yeah.
the big thing or the big gimmick with it is that all of your superpowers are movie effects.
Or what?
They're movie effects. So like if you want to deal more damage, then you use the slow mo power, and all of your hits just slow down, and so you're like bam, 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 or like you can zoom in, and it'll make things much more dramatic looking, and that has bonuses or super speed stuff like that. It's like take all of the classic superhero powers like super strength, super speed, invulnerability, stuff like that, and just put it through the lens of you're playing as a character in a movie. It's kind of like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Ah, action hero.
Yeah, action hero.
Great movie.
But it's very interesting. It was made by Capcom, and I do believe it was actually oh my god, I can't remember his name. Wow, I fail. The guy responsible for Devil May Cry. So yeah, we're just gonna throw that out there.
What is that? Like the fifth time you brought up Devil May Cry during this podcast?
Probably.
It sounds like really interesting though, man. Like it sounds like an original concept for a game. To be honest, that it sounds pretty fucking I was just like for some reason I was getting inside my head when you were describing the combat system of like Batman smacking Robin and like I'm gonna hit you so hard that words describing the impact are gonna pop
That
up. That's what was popping through my head for some weird reason. But what
does
system
happen
is
in
it
the
for?
game.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
oh, you're good. Originally, it was for the GameCube as part of the Capcom 5, which, or no, I'm
Uh,
probably wrong about that. Either way, when I played it, it was on the PS2. There was a sequel released, but that kind of, eh. Uh, it's one of those games that really just kind of just doesn't get talked about a lot. It was a good game. Like I'm not gonna sit here and suck its cock, but it was a good game.
it just fondled the balls a little bit.
A little over the clothes action.
Alright, there is a game that, dude, we obviously have to talk about on this podcast. We're talking about combat system. That is Breath of the Wild.
Ah,
Come on, we had like it's got they had to popped up like trying to save it towards the back end because save the best for last kind of thing. But fuck it, ain't what a beautiful game.
yeah.
Do you want to take this one away, man? Want to describe the? Why don't you? I want you to. How about you? Like you describe the combat system to somebody that's never.
Okay. The combat system is actually kind of simple when you really break it down, but the beauty lies in its simplicity. And it's the biggest thing is that's it. Your weapons are constantly breaking. You pick up a sword, you get maybe one or two enemies out of that sword, and then that sword is gone. It's done. So that really loops into the core gameplay of exploration. You're constantly digging around trying to find new weapons. It lends itself to a very kind of scrappy combat style where you run into an enemy camp, you pick up one of their weapons, you beat them over the head with it. When it's about to break, you throw it at them for a free critical hit. You grab the next thing, or you grab the weapon that enemy dropped, and it's one of those things it's very controversial, the whole weapon durability system. But I really do think it lends itself to the game.
And that's interesting that you brought that up because when I first started playing the game, it bugged me.
Hmm.
The more I got into the game, the more I loved it. And now I agree 100% with every single word that you just said. It really does bring into the adventure of the game. Like it makes you got to explore, man.
Hmm.
You gotta go out there, get some caves, gotta find some like enemy bases and like get the treasure chest, and that's one of the funnest fucking things though in the game, isn't it? I mean, like your weapons or abilities about to get low. Okay, let's throw it in this motherfucker's face.
Hmm.
Like yeah, that is one of my favorite things to do, especially like with the spears. Like I just like tossing it right in the grill. Take that,
Yeet.
bitch. Right? Yeah. Fucking A. Also, I think that it's fair to point out that's really awesome about the fucking combat system too. It's being when you do a backflip or a sidestep, like you get that slow motion mad rush and you
Oh
them up
yeah.
like 20 times. Like, dude, you could do that like 20 fucking times. You could do that 120 fucking times. It just never gets old. Like doing the perfect backflip and like ta 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 ta. Like, dude, it's awesome.
Go JoJo on a motherfucker.
Oh yeah. Like games also like it can obviously like it makes you do like the melee, but like if you really wanted to do like a bunch of pros too, like you can like being able to slow down time when you're coming down with like the bow and arrow and like launch a few enemies, like a few in the head, and, like towards enemies, get some critical hits in. There's just so many things about the combat system that just makes it so fun and addictive.
Hmm. And
Are
one thing, they did stealth like it's not necessarily the focus, but stealth isn't useless. It's not just, okay, let me knock out this one motherfucker and then, we go into full combat mode. You can take out an entire encampment from, afar and never get seen. And that's
uh,
not something a lot of games with stealth manage to do nowadays.
yeah, that is true. Should like fucking Assassin's Creed or some shit, but
Uh,
yeah, no, I ain't getting that. But that is a good point. Like, well, it's one of my favorite things to do is like when I find like one of those little enemy bases and like they got the guys on the little watchtower spread out. So I love picking them off with arrows, like staying like hunched over, and they'll be like looking around like they don't see me. And I'll take one of those spears that have like they're low in durability, and I whack one of them in the head with it. One of my favorite things to do. And they also like got it to where they're sitting around the campfire and they have like the explosive barrels around them. Like
yeah.
that- that's just fun as hell to sit on top of a high hill and like just pump a fucking bomb arrow towards them and kaboom. And it's fair to point out too they do have a weapon that does not run out of durability, and that's the Master Sword. I mean, it does run out of
Eh,
charge. They charge, but it's a sword that you for the entire game.
I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same time, it's like, let's face it, the Master Sword was the thing I used to break like crates open and stuff because I wasn't gonna waste, a weapon that would actually kill things
Uh,
on, like breaking rocks or something.
I use the Master Sword as like the backup. It just ran out of weapons or something like that. That's what the sword was. My favorite weapons in the game were like the laser type weapons you got from the robots. I fucking
Oh
love
yeah,
those things.
the
Just look like
Guardian weapons.
lightsabers. Uh, just look like lightsabers.
Yeah.
I love those motherfuckers. But, I'm sure we're definitely gonna. This is not the last you're gonna hear of Breath of the Wild on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I assure you.
Oh,
like,
certainly not.
I don't know. That's one of my favorite games of all time, and I think I can say it's safe to say it's the same for John. So
Yep.
let me got the what am I here? What else you got, man? What's another combat system that you think that you love?
Uh, and this is actually kind of tied into Breath of the Wild somewhat in terms of, like the sort of slowdown and the methodicalness of it. Um, the Arkham Asylum games. Like,
Ah,
I think Arkham City probably did it the best. Like, Arkham Asylum, don't get me wrong, the game is fucking wonderful, but Arkham City really kind of took everything that Arkham Asylum laid down and built up on it. But you really get they mastered the whole freeform combat. You feel like fucking Batman when you're in a group taking down dudes. Just this constant back and forth and dance of attack, counter, use a gadget. Reposition yourself. Like you really do feel like Batman just whacking some dudes down. And same thing with the stealth segments. They really you feel like Batman. Like what greater endorsement of a game can I fucking give than you feel like goddamn Batman?
there is none. That is the best endorsement for the fucking game. Is that
Hmm.
you are Batman. Like you, dude, you put it perfectly. That combat system literally made you feel like Batman. Even when it came to the fucking stealth, like hiding in the shadows, picking them apart. Like, you're always looking at you're always looking at like the cartoons and like the movies, and you
Hmm.
always like see like, but you don't never see Batman, but you see the enemies disappear. Well, in the video game, you get to do that. You get to pick one of the motherfuckers up, and the rest of them kind of sprawl around like, hey, where the fuck did he go? Then you just come in, gliding down, and fucking drop kick a motherfucker. And like the fluidity the combat system was just a fucking thing of beauty, man. I would zone out doing it because
Hmm.
it just became fluid. It just became like I was flowing like water. I'm just jumping around from end to end. I remember at one point in time when I was playing Arkham City, it got towards the end, and like I think that's like one of the jail scenes. particular facing like 30 dudes, and like I like wiped the floor with those 30 dudes. I didn't even get fucking touched.
Yeah.
like that. It was like the epitome of making me feel like I was fucking Batman.
Mm, like it's almost kind of turn based in a way when you really get into that rhythm where okay, you do your attack and you do the next couple you see the next couple moves that you have to do ahead of time, and you do them, and you're just in this constant, that's it, just this dance, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a good way of putting it. It is kind of like a dance. I mean, then like you were saying with the gadgets and everything. Once you level up and like you get like the triangle, circle, like combinations, and like you build up your gauge, and like even like because you got like the enemies that are like brutes, and then the
Hmm.
ones with the shields that require special attacks. Like you just sit there, dance around, hitting down like the little pawn guys, and then you build up special attacks, knock one of those guys down, and keep going around like that. And like it's just so badass. I even loved it in oh man, which one was it? I don't think it was Arkham City. I'm pretty sure it was I think it might have been City, but I might be thinking about Origins.
Mm.
Um, where you were Batman and Robin, and you kept going back and forth between Batman and Robin, like wiping the floor with a bunch of guys.
That
What I'm
was
talking about?
Arkham Knight, and yeah, that was
Oh, it
actually
was
really
nice.
cool.
It was fucking so dope, dude. Like you're fucking sitting there with like Batman, you lift one dude up, then here comes fucking Nightwing and fucking drop kicks him right in his face. Like, come on, bro. Like they need to make that, but like two-player style, and like just let two friends just go to fucking war against 30 dudes as Batman and Robin.
Yeah, like,
It's so dope.
say what you will about the rest of Arkham Knight, but that section right there, the whole, about that's it, switching between Batman, that was fucking awesome. Like the
Fucking
whole
A.
time during that, the sequence when they first introduce it, I'm just kind of sitting there giggling like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, it
Oh
was.
god.
I like literally replayed that entire fucking thing, the mission or whatever, just to do that again. They even did it to where you could like switch back and forth between Batman and Robin and pick part of the guys too, like doing that. That was fun as fuck too.
Hell yeah.
I heard that they're the new Arkham, that they're making a new Arkham, and I heard that it's going to be like that. It's going to be very open, like to let you to have a bunch of playable different characters. And I'm sitting here praying to the video game gods of letting me play as Red Hood, please. Just let me like fucking just let me play as Red Hood, and I could just shoot these motherfuckers' heads off. It would be so much fun.
No. All right. So, as our capstone, since we're talking about favorite combat systems, uh, what is, bar none, your favorite? Just you absolutely adore it. It is the greatest one you've ever done.
Dark Souls, man. It's not even a to do. There's no second thought. There's no second thought into it. It is the Soulsborne combat system is the most addicting combat system I've ever played in my entire life. I continually itch this that to this day for a new one. I can't wait for Elden Ring to come out. Neo 2 came pretty close. Neo 2 was a very good game. I'll give it a good rating, but it didn't like get the. It's like it's hard to describe. It's like Dark Souls gives you like this itch. Like the only
Mm.
thing that can scratch that itch is a Dark Soul game. That's the only way I could put it.
All right. I give you one
About you?
guess what mine is.
What's
I say I give you one guess what mine is.
that? Oh my god! So it's the sixth time this is going to be brought up. I think everybody that's listening can guess what the fuck it's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Devil May Cry.
Jesus Christ.
It's it's just so expressive. It's so broken. You can do so many incredible things with the combat system, and it really does make you feel like a badass when you pull it off. I just like, don't
We're
get me
good at
wrong, there are better combat systems out there, or there are ones that, might appeal to sensibilities a little bit more, but that's just, sit I sit down with Devil May Cry and I can't help but have a good time. It is what it is.
Hey, I guarantee that I do know one thing that anybody is listening to this and you want to have a fun drinking game, just sit down and listen to this podcast and take a drink every time John mentions Devil May Cry.
Please don't. You'll get alcohol poisoning.
Hey, man, I'm not knocking Devil May Cry. Like, I love Devil May Cry. I love every single one of them that I played, besides that fucking freaking nature, what that DMC was.
No, we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one. That's like Baltimore. That's the name that shall not be me. But all right, nerds and nerdettes. I think that's a perfect way to wrapping this up. It was, hope that you enjoyed listening to me and John nerd out about video games, and there would be much, much more content to come because me and John could sit here and literally talk the rest of our life about nerd stuff. So we are probably more than likely, with most of our podcasts will more probably be about video games. But hey, I'm a huge comic book fan, and we're also anime fans, so we're also gonna have a podcast on those as well. So stick for the future, for those to come. I'll make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to give us any comments or ideas you'd like to hear us talk about. Like, we have no problem giving shout outs and everything like that.
Hmm,
And John, what's your segment?
my segment.
What you usually say, buddy?
Oh,